Hey guys, I've been totally procrastinating doing this live. Hopefully you can hear me and it's not too windy. I'm currently down on the beach. The tide is coming in, so I am going to have to go shortly. And typically now there is somebody walking the dog, so it's massively out of my comfort zone. I've been on my own on this beach for the last hour and a half. Anyway, I've hopped on because I really wanted to talk about dyslexics feeling like people underestimate them. So I have had 3 situations today where I've really felt like I've been judged because I'm dyslexic. It's almost like I'm less than, and my viewpoint of what I've got to say almost isn't as valid. And I really feel like that's because the people that I am speaking to are judging me on their understanding of dyslexia rather than what dyslexia kind of actually is. Um, it's an interesting one for sure. And I've totally lost my train of thought now. That's very dyslexic, isn't it? But basically, what I feel like I really need to say is that unfortunately, when we're in these situations, what happens is often as the dyslexic person, we tend to often kind of like back down and play smaller. And if only like one of these things happens in one day, it's easier to kind of manage it, minimize it if you like, and kind of find a way around it. But when kind of things happen quite close together, it can be really difficult for us to sort of rationalize it, if you like, and it does kind of chip away at our confidence and our self-esteem. And as I say, this has happened to me today 3 times where I feel like I've been judged and people are looking at only kind of like a part of me. They're not looking at like the whole of me, if that makes sense. They're almost judging me on what I can't do rather than having some sort of conversation with me about what I can do. And actually, my substance, my real value is in what I can do, not in what I can't do. What's really interesting is I was just sharing my thoughts with my dyslexic daughter, just talking her through these situations today. And she totally coached me right back. And it was really interesting because she had a bit of a tricky week a couple of weeks ago, and people were kind of underestimating her. Her confidence and her self-esteem, unfortunately, had taken a bit of a dip because of a few things that had happened. And I had to really kind of coach her through those situations, have a bit of a conversation with her about what it really meant, talk to her about the different ways that she could manage that, really get her to kind of think worst case scenario, what she could and couldn't do to support herself out of that situation, but also kind of almost put like a virtual protective bubble around her that actually it's not about what people think of you, it's about what you think of yourself and what you know internally. And I think what so often happens with people with dyslexia and ADHD is that we look for and we seek for the validation of others to make ourselves feel better. And actually, cool piece of seagrass, that is where we go wrong. Because actually, we need to learn to trust ourselves and trust ourselves to the point where actually we don't need that validation, that external validation. Because actually, if we let people judge us and we back down, then actually that says more about us than it does about them. Like, we're looking for that validation. So actually the time has come for us to actually back ourselves at that point and know that our value is worth it. And actually those probably aren't the right people to be working with, or actually it's one single situation and they're not your people. So you need to go and find your people. You need to 100% back and trust yourself, and find a way to be successful in spite of them. It's about like kind of digging deep, and it's not, I mean, it can be about proving them wrong, like quite often that is dyslexic motivation, but I would say it's not necessarily about proving them wrong. And actually, when the time comes for them to want to work with you, you know, actually you're too busy to be able to work with them. It's about actually trusting your voice, your value, your worth, and knowing that you have got something to say and what you've got to say is of value, and it's going to potentially add a different perspective, a different viewpoint, And actually, if those people choose not to work with you, that's their loss, not your loss. So that was my little thought and my little message that I wanted to share with you today. And it's quite ironic because like I said, the beach has literally been really quiet, and I've been trying to pluck up the courage to actually come on and do a live like this and actually share these thoughts with you. And if I'm honest, at the start of the walk, actually, if I'd have done this live, it would have been really different. It probably would have been very negative, and it would have been quite, I'm a dyslexic victim, like, why does nobody want to work with me type thing. But actually, because I've now been for a walk and I've been able to rationalize it out in my head, I've kind of realized that actually it's not about nobody wanting to work with me. It's about me digging deep and actually keep on doing the do, keep on showing up. And actually, if they want to judge me on the tiny bit of me that they know and the tiny bit that they can see, and they don't want to get to know me better, and actually they want to look at me from a surface perspective, then let them. That's very Mel Robbins, isn't it? Let them. But for me, I think it's about trusting ourselves, trusting our inner voice. And what was really interesting is my daughter, the way she just coached me right back verbatim was really powerful. But the thing that was potentially the most powerful about it, if I'm really honest, is that it made me realise how well we both know how dyslexia and ADHD shows up for us. So a lot of what I'm feeling today is rejection sensitivity dysphoria, without a doubt. Like, that is a lot of what I'm feeling around this, and again, it's something you need to learn to manage and rationalise as an ADHD person. But we both know ourselves well enough to know where and how that is showing up in us now, so that we can begin to manage it a bit more positively. So yeah, interesting one. That's my lesson for the day. This is Dyslexic Life with Jo Reese, over and out. Yeah, my little message. Have a great evening, and you never know, I might be back here again soon.